Hey guys, this is Mark here from pixelfiendtech.com, and today we are going to be comparing the different app stores. Okay, now since this is App Month, I only thought it was appropriate to compare the app stores because nowadays, with most people having smartphones, an app store is a huge deciding feature into which smartphone you should get, and to be honest, I don't think it is talked about enough. So one of the main features of a smartphone, as you should know, is its ability to have apps on it. So if you're buying a smartphone and you can't get a good selection of apps on it, then there doesn't seem much point. So there are 4 app stores I'm really going to be speaking about today: BlackBerry, Windows, Android and iOS. Now straight away off the bat, I'm going to speak about BlackBerry and Windows first. Now, these are fairly new operating systems that haven't been around for quite as long as iOS and Android. This means that they have a huge deficit of apps. They really are far behind iOS and Android, and to be honest, the selection is pretty terrible, so I'm just going to wipe those 2 off for now. Now for Windows, since Windows is a huge company and there are a fair few amount of phones that actually are running the Windows 8 operating system, then I would expect developers to start developing more and more apps for Windows Phone. But in BlackBerry's case, the Z10 has been a bit of a flop and certainly isn't as successful as they wanted it to be. So I can't see the BlackBerry App Store kicking off anytime soon unless they come out with a hugely successful device, which I do doubt, though it could happen. So those are the 2 operating systems out the way, and now we are going to go to the all-time battle of iOS versus Android. Now, first of all, I'm going to speak about the kind of security system, you could say. So Apple has a very laborious process. If a developer puts up an app or uploads it or whatever, it doesn't go straight to the App Store. The Apple teams check it out, and it's usually about a month of them just making sure it's completely safe and everything to make sure it won't harm your phone or anything like that. So most of the apps in the iOS App Store will work perfectly smoothly and will also not have viruses or anything. Now in Android's case, I believe they do still check the apps, but they are slightly more lax, so you do have that slight chance of your apps not being safe, though it really isn't something to worry about. Next up, we have the kind of accessibility features of your app. Now on Apple, these accessibility features, I'm not even sure if that's what it's called, they aren't that high. Now what I'm meaning by this is when you download an app, usually if you go into the information or something like that, it says by installing you allow this app control over your flashlight and your messages, for example, or just something like that. Now Apple has a shorter list than Android, so there are less features that an app can choose to control than on Android. For example, on Apple you can't really change the interface of the layout. You're stuck with the same amount of apps on the screen, you're stuck with those app logos, you're stuck with the sizes. All you can really change is the wallpaper. Whereas on Android you can download launchers which allow you to kind of almost switch operating systems, or you can download themes which kind of change the appearance of the menus and the apps and things like that. So that's certainly something to take into account, that Android apps can take more control over your phone so they can do more things, which I suppose is a better thing. Now this point I'm about to make, in my opinion, is the most important point about this whole topic, and that is that Android apps are not specific to your device. Now iOS apps, well, just Apple in general, they have very little devices, so you could say they have 4 main devices that apps will be running on. So you have the iPhone, the iPod Touch, the iPad and the iPad mini. So you get iPad apps and you get iPhone apps, and the iPhone apps run on iPods as well. Now this means that the apps are specifically designed for those processors and for those screen sizes. So that means on Apple they run extremely smoothly. Though on Android there are a huge range of different phones that have the Android operating system and use the Google Play Store. This means that generally apps aren't designed for the specific phone, which means that your apps won't run as smoothly, might not fit the screen, and just generally will have not as good graphics in general. Now, you will get some apps, especially on some phones. So for example, on an HTC One or Galaxy S4, most apps will run smoothly. But if you're on a lower end Android device, the apps may be a little jittery and just won't run as well as on iOS. So overall, the Android and Apple smartphones, they both have fairly equal app stores. In my opinion, I do slightly prefer the iOS store, though a lot of people just like the Android because they have that huge range of apps and a lot more customizability. Please let me know what you think, and if this video helped you, please subscribe to my channel and give this video a like and a share. Thank you very much for watching. See you.